Hi, girlies. Welcome to Book Please Podcast. It's Elina here.
Hi, girlies. Welcome to the Hey,
Wow.
guys. It's Amanda.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
I don't have to do the intro.
No,
we
I'm
have discussed
messing
this.
with you.
You can do the intro. If you
No,
want
you're just
to.
so cute. I'm sorry. Hey, guys. It's Amanda.
Oh, hi, Amanda. Today is like one of those loopy days. We're recording extra late. We've had long ass days, honey. So it's going to be a very interesting, saucy episode.
Who knows where we'll go? Maybe we'll talk
Giving you
about
our authentic selves. Before we get into it, let's just say congratulations to our giveaway winner from last episode, Charlene Styles. Thank you. We see you. We appreciate you and all your support. We just want to say thank you so very much to you and to everyone who entered.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We'll have plenty more coming up, too.
Yes, exactly. So stay with us. We'll definitely have more to come. Now, Amanda, I already feel like I know the answer, and I swear I wasn't even going to bother asking you this question. But did you watch the solar eclipse?
I did, only because my boyfriend was like, come out, look at it. But I was just like, I could have been fine without it. Like we didn't have glasses. He had like a welding hat thing.
Oh,
so
my God. My dad did that. My dad sent us a picture in his welding mask. And it's like, literally, and I'm a journalist and we're writing like all these articles about like, don't do a makeshift this and this, that, and get the NASA approved. And my dad was in a welding mask and I had like a panic attack. But apparently it's like, is it like pitch black before you can see anything in there? Like, or can you see through it? How is it?
So you have to wait till you do see the black and then you can look up. So like you have to look at a certain angle. And then, I mean, I did
Girl,
see.
we weren't in totality though. So you were getting burned.
Girl.
Yeah, how many fingers am I holding up?
4? No, okay, 2.
You know what's funny? I was getting sad that I was like, shoot, I didn't get glasses. And the day before, I was like, because in my head, I was like, no, I'm not going to look at it. Like, I've seen it before. But then I was like, you know what? Let me see. And I went on Amazon. They wouldn't get it here in time. And then I was walking my doggy, Cash, my son. And one of my neighbors was so cute. She's like, I have extra glasses.
I was just going to say, if you went outside, someone will share.
Yeah. So she gave me her glasses and she gave me a thing to put in front of your phone camera so that you could take pictures of it without hurting the camera lens. So my poor neighbor Cassidy, shout out to you because she just sees me in every form and every way, like in the neighborhood, everything I'm going through. And I'm like, girl, let's go outside for the eclipse. Catch me outside. And she came. I was like, I got glasses in tow. And it was so funny because I couldn't see it at first. Like the glasses are complete blackness, completely. So you have to like find exactly where the sun is. But I didn't want to look before and ruin and like go blind. And every time she put them on, she's like, oh, it's right there. Oh, it's right there. And I would put them on and I'm like, I don't see it. It was like the hardest thing.
But like it was a you thing. For me, I was here for like the memes. Like the memes were like had me dying. I posted one that was like, while we're at it, don't look directly at me today either.
I saw that and I was like, that screams a man. It was so funny. Oh my God, the best.
And then
literally.
My one coworker, she lives in New York City, and I was laughing so hard. So she lives in an apartment building, I assume, because she posted a picture of like all these people like on their roof, on the fire escape, and then she wrote like, "It's giving COVID," like when people were like trying to get us.
Remember they were like banging the pots and pans like on there. Oh my God. That's really funny. I ended up giving my glasses. I saw like a little girl out there with her family and they were like sharing one pair. So I just felt like just the best person ever because I was like, here you go.
Oh, you're so cute. I would do something like that too.
Yeah. So
All right,
that
girl.
was
I think you need
nice.
to show everyone those beautiful nails. I'm
Oh,
like, I'm
yes.
living through you because I haven't got my nails done in a
Thanks.
while. Oh,
They actually, so I went to my girl Tracy, who you know, also whenever Tom isn't there, love you too. But we always have fun. So we would like put some glitter in there. You can't
love
really
that.
see it on the camera, but I was like, oh, okay, let's play.
Oh.
And it was so much. Oh, you know what this reminds me of? You're gonna hate me.
Oh God.
So after I got my nails done, I went to pick up food and I went to Chipotle. I was getting a bowl.
My favorite
Fire.
place.
Yes.
Sponsor
And
us.
yes. We'll eat on camera,
Literally.
which I would never do. So, anyways, I'm checking out, and the woman is like checking me out with her freaking little pink ass nails. And they were each like a shade different, and she had all these gems, and you could just tell like she really tried. And I was like, oh my God, I love your nails. And nails were like top
Nail
of mind.
bonding.
So I'm looking at her nails, and she was like, oh, thank you so much. I normally don't do them, but it was my daughter's first birthday, so I wanted to do something fun for her. And like she's having like this sweet moment with me. And so naturally, naturally I have to tell her about my son.
You're like, boys are better, aka my dog.
Disclaimer, it's my dog, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, my son. My dog Cash turns 2 next month.
Oh, so you told her an actual dog.
Yeah. Because I had to clarify at some point. Like I did say my son, but then I was like, he's my dog. I made it like funny, but I think she felt bad she was just like, oh, that's so sweet. Like she thought it was a Looney Tune.
Bro, when she left, she was like, can you believe
she was like,
chick?
This bitch
compared my daughter to a dog.
Sometimes it's like, can you love? Like, imagine how much.
I wish I was there. I would have been like, my hamster turns 5.
Listen, okay? A hamster is actually an animal. Like, a dog is a child. Let's not even. I can't even believe.
These hamster
you might as well have said a fish, okay?
Hey, fish are cute. They have personalities,
you know.
I'm dead.
Let's cut this combo before.
All right, so speaking of babies,
my son here.
I feel like there's babies dating grown men out there.
Girl, did you see this? Oh, I knew this episode was going to be turned. We're just delirious. Okay, let's talk about it. Aoki Lee Simmons, daughter of Kimora Lee Simmons and Russell Simmons. Beautiful 21-year-old young woman dating a 65-year-old nasty, hairy, old ass man, but he's the founder of Serafina, that Italian restaurant. Well, the chain.
I'm like 50-50 on it because
50-50?
Well, because maybe they
21-65, maybe.
Girl, like you know what it's like. Excluding my man, how hard it is dating out in these streets. Maybe these older men are treating these younger girls better. I don't know.
You didn't.
I did, but but if that was my kid,
great day, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode.
But if that was my kid, of course I'd be like, but I wouldn't accept it. I mean,
I would drag her out by the hair.
I know, but she's gonna do what she wants to do.
But what?
I don't even think about her. Like she has her whole life ahead of her. Like this could just be like a thing right now. But him, how can he be attracted to this child? Like it's just, I gotta stop calling her child. She's grown. But you know what I mean? Like I just don't know I know what he wants and how he, but I don't know. I'm more disgusted with him than her. What?
Of course he sees this young, gorgeous, model-looking.
But what can
First of all, it's giving pedophile because she is a child compared to him. It's complete. It's still, in my book, it's still pedophilia. What does she see by this greasy, sweaty, beer gut,
I see.
gray? She's 21 and she doesn't need the money. Like, no, he's
that's
loaded.
What I'm saying. I don't think it's the money. I think she genuinely likes him and he must treat her well. Girl. If these 21-year-olds were doing better and treating women better.
I think this is like violating. Like, I think she's being groomed. I think she doesn't get it. I think she's in a weird world in Hollywood where things aren't real life. And these are the things, unfortunately, that are like more normalized. Like, I feel like if this was like legitimately real life and this girl just grew up in a family with money, she would never look at a man like that. Like, unless it was like a sugar daddy situation. This is just, it feels icky. It feels so violating. It feels like he's like groomed her or in some way manipulated her young mind, because she's beautiful. She has access to the most gorgeous people on earth. And this is the man. Girl.
What is that TV show where these young girls are like dating older guys, but they're like, I don't remember what the TV show's called, but one girl is dating this older guy who took care of her financially, obviously, like for the money. And her parents like literally would not go to the wedding, would not support it at all. And I totally get it. And I feel like it's weird because he obviously wants to be with the young, on TV, it's like so gross to watch because the intentions, like it doesn't seem like love. It seems like, oh, I'm sleeping with a younger girl and I'm giving her money, and she's like, oh, I'm financially good. So that to me is like, that's why I'm feeling like she doesn't need money from this man. There's no way. I wouldn't think so with her.
But I think she's being like, well, you know, when you're young, you don't realize that you're being
she's
almost
naive
violated and,
yeah,
being
so
taken advantage of, and you're just dumb and naive, and you go along with it, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like that power dynamic. Like it feels icky to me. I'm in my 30s, and my dad is not as old as this man. That man is older than my father.
And her parents are, I mean, and her mom's 21. Pretty young.
She just graduated high school.
Yeah, I just don't, for me, it's like, I don't know what they have in common. Like,
nothing.
That's why I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know. I think she'll grow out of it. I think it's a phase. I think her parents obviously don't approve, but they just need to.
Yeah, and they don't approve, but I think that they are being as supportive as they can be for their daughter. Like,
I thought the mom posted like a meme that was
she did.
Yeah.
She did, but she made light of it where she pulled, like, it was like a video of her like dragging, like it was like somebody dragging somebody like by the hair, like she's gonna pull her daughter out of this situation.
Yeah.
100% aligned with you, Kimora. Like, yes, queen. But her dad, she gave him like, which I would imagine would be the most uncomfortable for her. I don't know, how old is Russell Simmons? Is he as old? Is he even as old as this man? I don't think so.
I know, we're both looking.
I'm looking.
He's 66. Oof. Like, oof.
So it's her dad's age.
Yeah.
That's insanity. So she gave him like a heads up before it all blew up, and he like kind of joined her.
She's young.
Yeah, exactly. The mom is much younger. I think it was like I don't know if it was like an Instagram live or something, but he just like kind of showed like he's supportive of his daughter and like stood with her and like, you know, whatever, has not like disowned her. Nobody has like publicly been like nasty about it. And what can you do? But it's so
okay. I just want to say, I was curious, like when they started dating, like her parents, he met her when she was 17 and he was 35. So if you look at it, it's kind of, I think that's kind of still.
Oh, I totally agree, because especially because, you know, technically at 17, you're a minor, but still you're closer in age. This gap is absurd.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think they're going to get married is what I'm saying. I think it's just like, yes, people are watching and they're like, ugh. Like, think about like all these like older people in Hollywood dating these younger girls. Leonardo DiCaprio does it all the time, you know, but he's not that old. So,
but this is a 44-year age gap, Amanda. Yeah, 44 years.
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
it's not like 10, 20. It's 44 years.
Anything surprising? Nothing surprising. That's a
middle-aged man.
This is all over TikTok. These girls are like, I've been doing that.
Yeah, but some of them don't have a choice, and it's like, okay, more power to you, get your coin, and like you're grossed out. This bitch is like, I am in love. Like, you could get pasta anywhere, girl. You don't need to get it from the Serafina founder, okay, honey? Your parents will pay for you to do anything you want in this world, and the world is your oyster, and you're 21 and stunning. Yep. But you know what? I'm not going to sit here and rip on this girl forever.
It'll pass, girl. I know you'll wake up tomorrow and be like, wait.
But I can't lie and say in the future she's going to be on a podcast, maybe ours, talking about how stupid she was when she was a kid.
You should write a book about this so we can read it. your experience.
Yes. And then we'll talk about it. We'll catch you in 20 years, Aoki.
All right, let's leave
on to the next child making news. JoJo Siwa.
I'm like, which child are you going to bring up now?
JoJo Siwa. We
Okay.
really are turned. One day we need to do like a book please after dark and be drinking on our episode because I feel drunk at this point with the way that my day is
high
gone.
off life.
Yes, and sleep deprivation.
I don't know about you, but I mean, actually, I woke up early today. I worked out. Your girl was queening today, that's for sure.
Wow, look at you go. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. I've been working since. I took my son Cash to the vet. It has been quite a day for me, prep for the podcast.
This is what happens when you're a mother.
A mother, a business owner,
oof,
a role model. A star.
OnlyFans coming soon.
Yeah. Ooh, gotta cut that out. That's never happened. Let's go to JoJo.
Okay.
JoJo Siwa. Now, this has been quite the turn of events for Miss Siwa. She began in her bow era. Everything was pink, glitter, butterflies, rainbows, and sunshine. And now she's discovered the color black. And she is just wearing, and she looks like she's fresh out of like a Kiss promo. Like, did you see her? She just did a red carpet and she had this black stuff across, like a mask across her face. She was wearing like this black cutout cat suit, but it still had like rhinestones and was bizarre. But she's almost like, it's like she's trying so hard to break out of her shell of like the girly life that she had or in the persona that she was. And she's trying to like rebrand herself. But when you do something like that, that's natural. You think of it like a Miley Cyrus, for example. Okay, Miley was like Hannah Montana. She was branded Disney. And then she became, as she grew up, like she discovered her sexuality. She became more provocative and it was like natural. And JoJo's out here doing interviews. And she's like, no one in my generation has done such a change up this bold. Like, so someone's got to do it. Like, I'm going to be the one to do it. And it's just weird to me because it's like, you don't announce like, by the way, starting on this day is my change up. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels weird. It feels uncomfy.
Yeah. I mean, she's one of those kids that's like a child star. It came from like, well, what was she on? That dancing show?
Oh, yes.
Dance Moms?
Yes.
Yeah, so she started on Dance Moms, so she's been in the limelight forever. So, you know, I feel like these people got to like do something, stay relevant. I don't know. I want to say this is definitely E-News. If it's not, I'm sorry I said E-News. But I saw
Yeah, it was.
Facebook,
I already know.
It was. I saw that.
The clickbait.
Literally, and of course I'm like a sucker. I click it. I'm like, how much did she spend on her veneers? So they posted like she spent $50,000 on veneers. And don't get me wrong, her smile looks great. But I'm like, really? We have to write a whole article about this? What? And it's funny because they were like, oh, you won't believe what she spent. And I see the picture and I'm like, it's going to be those teeth. Like, how could it not be? Like, how great they look. And of course it's that. So I feel like it's always something with people.
And that's different. But like, I just find it so odd. Like she's going on. Do you know that she was just on Call Her Daddy?
Was she?
And she's wearing, like the episode just dropped or is dropping now today, I think. And she's wearing like this bizarre hat and it's got all these jinglies in front of her face and she's just talking through and I'm like, is it a crisis? Like, but it's strange because she seems to be like wanting people to look at her and be like, what is she doing? But like, you can't say it to the camera. Like, look, watch, I'm doing something different. Like, it feels so strange. Like, she's trying so hard.
But she's so in the limelight right now. Like, even I saw something where it was like she was talking about when she has kids, she went in and like Teddy, Freddie, and Eddie or something like that.
Oh, stop.
I was just like, wait. I was like, stop. One, it's even, I mean, I don't know if she plans to like have like unisex names for her kids, but I'm like, she's assuming she's having 3 boys. No, she said it. I heard her. Like, came out of her mouth.
Might as well be Ed, Ed, and Eddie because what the hell?
I was like, okay. She's like, no time soon though, like in a few years. You know, when I do become I'm like, okay.
And all of a sudden her voice, have you heard her in interviews? It's so it sounds like she's like has no voice, like she completely lost it or she's a chain smoker. Like it sounds like she got run over on the throat. Like I'm like, girl. She's like, hello. I'm like, okay.
I remember watching an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it was when Kim's one of her kids. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But Probably, I'm assuming, which one is the one that's like older now?
North.
Actually, North. I think North, like when she was younger, had a thing for JoJo, so she invited over to the house. And
Oh,
Kim
yeah.
said something about her, like something about her being annoying. And North, of course, said it to JoJo, and Kim is like,
North stays getting on her mother's last nerve. The
"I laughed so
funniest
hard."
thing to me in life
Mhm.
is that Kim got North as a kid.
Oh,
Like,
it's like karma.
North tests her every day. She birthed a Kanye. And it's so funny. And this girl is so out of line. And it's like she'll be filming, like she's probably getting like $1 million, right? To just post a story about a brand. And she'll be like, guys, I love this so much. I use it every day. And North is in the background. She's like, no, you
No, you
don't, Mom.
don't.
You've never used that. You just took it out of the box. This is who her daughter is. And it is so
Or like
funny.
when she commented on one of her, I think it was Kendall's dress and didn't like it, and then she's like, "Oh, Mom said she didn't like your dress."
Yeah. There was an episode where like Kim was talking about North and she was like, Courtney always tells me that North is my lesson. And she just sits there, nods, and takes it. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, she's a lot. That
Oh,
one's a character. She definitely her and Kanye must be very close.
for no, she actually worships her
Oh
father, which
yeah,
is
I
a
think he brings her
beautiful
on
thing.
stage.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she actually has like an amazing song out with him, and
hmm
I love that he still has a kid, like he has a kid so invested and so proud of
hmm
him, and all of that because he's been through it, and
Going
I
through
think
stuff.
he's
Yeah.
obviously like kind of lost his mind. But and after I think I really see it from like when he lost his mother, he's just like almost lost touch with reality a bit. It's good that he's been kind of off grid lately, but like when we do see him and his naked wife, it's like just wild thornberries out there.
Wild.
But I will say, like, I love how much she loves her dad and they
hmm
share the same passions and she's very creative and artsy,
Yes.
but she almost like it's not like, oh, I just love my dad. She like shits on her mother, who is like the bad guy because she's always doing everything right. And she's like, dad has an apartment. Like, I like it so much better. And it's like, okay, well, we have a giant house.
hmm
And she'll be like, dad, like we cook together and we don't have a chef and this and that. And it's literally like, North, he makes ramen. Like, it's and he'll probably be a little more lenient and like he's like the fun parent that
Yeah.
picks her up,
hmm
does all the crazy stuff, and then drops her off back home, and Kim has to deal with her in real life and reprimand her.
Yeah.
And it's sad because she'll grow up and she'll realize, hopefully,
hmm
but it's like she has this perception of her mom, like, I hate you, I just want to be with dad. And Kim always like obviously has the best interest of her kids in mind. So
Bro,
it's,
tell me you like the Kardashians without telling me you like the
ooh,
Kardashians.
sponsor me. Like literally,
All right, enough about the Kardashians unless they plan on sponsoring us.
that's
Let's
fine.
get
Let's get into our book
okay.
because oh my gosh, we are so excited about this book. We read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is part 2 of the book that we're on. So we read chapters 12 through 22 this week.
It's getting so good. I feel like there's so much to like talk about, and for me, what's fresh in my mind is like the important stuff. So I'll let
I
you.
know there's so much to talk about. At the same time, we left at such a spot that like is killing me and I didn't want to stop. But let's start from the beginning before we get ahead of ourselves because we leave on like a little bit of a saucy high, which was amazing. So basically, when we start off with the characters in chapter 12, Pharaoh's been wandering the mansion. She's trying to like create a map in case of like in case she can use an escape plan or something like that. And Tamlin comes back from killing the bug around this time and he's injured. He sees the map and she's sitting there feeling like, okay, he's going to think I'm illiterate, and she's feeling a little bit self-conscious about it. And he's actually impressed by her and like starts to be like, wait a minute, you actually taught yourself this? Like, instead of her being like, I wasn't educated, he's looking at it like, well, you weren't educated in this. Look at how much you've done for yourself. So I thought that was a really sweet moment. And he's like, hurt, and she's dressing his wound and in a way where it's still functional for him because she learned to hunt. She had to be resourceful. So I feel like like we're starting off in a place where like he's pretty impressed by her. They're bonding. They're getting more comfortable with each other and getting to know each other.
For me, one thing I want to mention, like, I think Sarah did a great job in not making her perfect. Like, yes, she can hunt. So I think giving her like this, not being able to read kind of shows that like she did have to step up and like, with her family, like her sisters can read, they can do all those things. But once they lost like their funds or like, what is that called? Like once the family got rid of, once they didn't have any more money,
Yes.
and didn't, so she wasn't able to like educate and do those things. It's kind of nice that they made her seem a little more like, okay, so her thing is hunting, and being a provider, like taking care of people. So for me, I personally like the touch of her not being, super perfect.
Yeah, and she doesn't even like to hunt, really. It's just like something that she had to do. And it's almost like Tamlin too, right? Like he didn't want to be this person that's in charge of his land, that's always patrolling the land, that's always This is just something that happened to him, and he was put in this position, and now he has to do this.
Yeah,
So
I know it's way ahead. I know it's way ahead, but Lucian is kind of the same too. It's like all three of them kind of just all perfect together.
So even Tamlin had asked her like straight up. There was a part that that really stuck out to me where he was like, "Has anyone ever like taken care of you?" And she said no, and that was so sad. And I feel like they've all kind of been left to pick up the pieces, like you're saying. So moving forward, there was a part where she was like looking at all the murals and getting to know the different 7 courts. And she did point out that in the middle of the map, there was like a large mountain, and that didn't belong to any of the fairies. I think, how there's this theme of like a she, like there's a something that they're all afraid of that keeps coming up. When that little part was just like kind of glazed over, I was like, maybe this is like the center of where this person or being or whatever is, like that like rules over the courts, or like that is, kind of threatening the land. I feel like there was some reason that we don't know yet that was pointed out.
Foreshadowing. So it's foreshadowing. Yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't think much of it, but now that you say that, it has to be foreshadowing for something.
I just feel like there's always a little reason that they make a comment,
Yes.
like if they point something out like that, I'm like, okay, let's come back to that. Cause she's like, no fairies, like that doesn't belong to any of the 7 types of fairies. And I was like, okay, well, it belongs to somebody and we're going to find out.
Maybe it's where the cure is.
Maybe it is. Honestly, I mean, we'll see. But the other thing is she's talking to Lucian, and she's trying to find out more information about this being called the Suriel, who is a fairy, right?
Yeah, like they're considered fairies. Yeah.
So they basically are these beings that when you trap them, have to answer your questions. So she's like trying to get Lucian to tell her how she can trap the Suriel so she can get information.
So then she ends up going into the woods trying to find this thing and ends up finding it, or she traps it first.
Right. And Lucian was like, you have to do all these things. He's like, you got to go
set
up a snare, like get a raw chicken. Like later we find out Alice is like, you idiot. Like all you have to do is offer it a robe and like they'll safely tell you whatever. But Lucian puts her in danger.
Yeah. I feel like he's still salty about losing his, one of his best friends. And I personally was kind of annoyed that he didn't go with her. Like I was like, something's going to happen. Like I feel like it can't be easy.
Right. And it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't, because then the Naga fairies come and then Feyre is forced to, I mean, she has to handle it. She's here. Yeah. She screams. So then like that sets up Tamlin to come and then eventually Lucian, but she's left there with the Suriel. Yeah. And so she uses an arrow to cut down the Suriel, another to shoot at the Suriel, to shoot out the Naga that starts following her. And then Tamlin and Lucian come and get the other 2 that were there.
Yeah, I knew Tamlin was going to save her, and I was happy he did, but then I was also still annoyed with Lucian because I was like, you knew what she was doing. You knew what she was going after, and you wouldn't think to stay close or like, he annoyed me.
And Tamlin has been saying, like, you don't let anything happen to her, like, not
Hmm.
as long as we're around.
Exactly.
So it was kind of annoying, but then he did like give her a peace offering later. He apologized. He gave her his knife. Like they moved past that.
And and he was like, don't throw it at my back. I
Literally.
wanted to be like, you should throw it by his ear and just scare him a bit.
She did get some information though from the
Mhm.
serial. She had told Tamlin like she didn't like learn anything significant, but there were things like the serial said you have to stay close to the High Lord
And she found out
to
he was a
be
high
safe.
lord from,
Yeah, and
yeah.
she realized like, okay, this is Tamlin, who is
Mhm.
this High Lord, and she also found out that hold on, I actually wrote down a few different things just so I could remember all the things that
Exactly.
the
Mhm.
serial said. So the serial says that she must remain in Prithian or she and her family will be killed. Tells her to stay with the High Lord. Then the serial explains that the blight came from another fairy kingdom across the sea known as Hybern, and no humans live there. And the king of Hybern sits on a throne of human bones. And he has
Mm.
like this vendetta against them. He hates the treaty that the fairies have with the humans. He, like 50 years ago, fought in this war against he was betrayed by someone known as the deceiver. Like there's a lot of hate coming from Hybern,
Mhm.
and that's where the blight, the sickness, had come from. So she
Mhm.
learned this from the serial.
Yeah, so that's why I also think that maybe the humans and them may be a cure. Because if it came just from like a fairy area, I figure, a fairy maybe can't be the only cure. Maybe it needs to have some kind of outside. But that's where I'm thinking she's going to be important when it comes to the cure.
Yeah, and she even the serial even warned her about the Naga, so we know that she's legit because she was like they're near, and
Yeah, just
then
try to warn
look what
her.
happened.
Hmm.
So I mean, I just
Yeah.
thought it was funny that when she went back, Alice was like, "Girl, you just had to offer it a robe."
Alice is slowly. I mean, I feel like I like their relationship too, but I like that Alice kind of gives her that sisterly love. Like she tells her when she's like being.
Yeah. And moving past that, when Tamlin, so we're watching now Tamlin and Feyre bond, and they're getting
Mhm.
closer and they're talking to each other. And one of the things that Feyre, like, as a thread in these chapters is she's trying to figure out Tamlin's age.
Mm.
And there was a part where he was talking about, like, how 500 years ago there was a time that fairies and humans were so close that fairies fought on behalf of
For humans.
humans.
Hmm.
And this was 500 years ago, and he lets out that he was a child at the time.
Hmm.
And she's like calculating. She's like, how old is this man? Like, what is going on here?
Which is why I thought there was no way they would fall in love because I see him as like this daddy figure and how
Girl,
he's
don't you know
protective.
Edward?
But like they look the same. I mean, I don't know what he looks like. Maybe he does look young, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's like good
Yeah,
looking, great body. Like,
fine. I don't know.
honey.
It just always gave me daddy vibes, not like
Yeah,
fizzy
zaddy.
zaddy.
So after this point, oh, also, we learn from Tamlin that he glamored her family,
Family.
which
Hmm.
means that he kind of like altered their memory to think that Feyre is away with a wealthy aunt, and they're also glamored to run in the face of danger, like at the first sign of danger. So she knows, she feels a sense of peace knowing that her family is safe, but she continues to feel these underlying conflicted feelings like they're never going to remember me or they never
Hmm.
fought for me. Like she has these things like boiling up inside her that she hasn't really talked about and later does with Tamlin, but she has a lot of conflicted feelings about her family for sure.
Those parts were kind of annoying for me to read because I was just like, oh, she's so ungrateful. Like her family didn't even really. I feel like they weren't enduring it. Like I feel like they didn't really care for her. They looked at her as
No.
someone that helped provide. Like they needed her to just do those things. I feel like they didn't genuinely love her. And maybe they did, I don't know, but I feel like she has it so good where she is. They take care of her. She can paint, do what she wants to do. She doesn't have to take care of anyone. And she's just like, oh, why don't they miss me? Oh, I want to write them. And I'm just like, girl, but that's
It
just
was a
me.
total use.
Yeah.
It
So
was
I
like
just,
it doesn't feel sincere.
Mm-hmm.
And at the point where she does discuss it with Tamlin, like she even said, like she's thinking to herself, like, how stupid was I to think that when I saw, like when
Her
the
dad.
puka was there and like showing her
Mm-hmm.
a mirage, like he would never actually come. And that was really
Mm-hmm.
sad.
And then he made her feel better because he was like, no, he would have came, but he didn't because I glamored him. So I feel like
Right.
he tried to like sugarcoat that, but I think we all know I don't think her dad would have came.
Yeah.
Mm,
Just sad.
so
There
sad.
was a part that was gut wrenching for me to read, and it led to us learning more about Lucian and Tamlin,
Oh,
which is
the
when that
fairy.
fairy from the
Oh,
spring court he was brought in, and he's suffering and he's dying, and they throw him on the table, and all he kept saying was, "She took my wings. She took my
oh,
wings."
I cried.
I was so sad.
I
Like,
cried. And she was telling
yes,
him, You'll get them back." And then he's like,
yes, and she's
promise.
holding his
Oh,
hand as he's dying.
mm,
And it was so tragic.
yeah.
And Tamlin's like watching her and her
Oh, he's falling
heart.
in love. He must be falling in love.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he's like, why would you do that? Like, you hate fairies. And first of all, she doesn't like fairies because of like the things that she's led to believe, not because of what she
Yeah,
sees
the
with her own
rumors.
eyes. She's
Hmm.
obviously opening up to it. And she doesn't, from her own experience, like she's safe and protected, honestly.
Hmm.
But she said to him, like, nobody deserves to die alone. And if that were me, I would want somebody to hold my hand as I went too.
Yeah. I
And I
also
was like,
cried.
oh,
I think it was like right after this happened, but she said to him, like, I'm sorry I killed your friend. Like, I regret it. I wish I didn't do
yes.
that. And I was just like, oh my God, my heart. And the way he like just like walked, I get why he, but I was also like, oh, like she was so, and she's never been that sentimental with anyone.
Yes.
So it
That
was so
was a huge point when she expressed regret and apologized essentially for Andrus's death.
Mhm.
And she kind of said, like, she almost like said it in a way where like she was being evil, like when she did it, but really she was just trying to help her family.
Mhm.
And I don't think there was ever ill intent. And I don't think she even likes hunting and she would rather not kill. But it was out of necessity what she was doing, out of complete necessity. Like they were starving.
Yeah, I feel like we also see her getting more warm. Like in the beginning, she was very
Yeah.
like walls up,
Yes.
only thinking about me and my family. And then as she like continues to live there, I feel like she's like opening up, becoming so sweet and like letting them in and trusting them, which I think she needs. I think she's going to become the most beautiful person. I think
Yeah.
she's going to marry Tamlin and become like Mrs. Lord, Mrs. High Lord.
Yes, Mrs. High Lord. I'm dead. Well, when this happened, Lucian couldn't even be around it, like couldn't bear to look at the suffering fairy. And Tamlin later expresses to Feyre, like, he has been through enough and seen enough where this stuff triggers him and it's too difficult for him to bear. And we come to learn that like his dad was horrible, his family kept human slaves, he was one of 7 boys, and he had even at one point fallen in love and with a fairy that they considered lesser, like not good enough for him. He was the son of a high lord of another court, and one of the sons, it's not just about being the eldest, it's whichever is the strongest, whichever like comes to be like the strongest, most noble one to take over will take over. So he had a fair shot at it, and he like was in love with this other fairy, and they didn't think that she was good enough. Essentially, the father had her executed, and 2 of his brothers pinned him down and made him
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, I think even when he tried to, he didn't care for like to be the throne or like run anything. And then his brothers saw it as competition to like try and kill him. I was just like, oh,
Yeah,
like no love in that.
it was so disturbing. And then at one point, the brothers crossed over into Tamlin's territory, and Lucian killed one of his brothers, and Tamlin killed the other of Lucian's brothers. And then Tamlin took Lucian in as his own, and ever since that point, and Lucian has been his emissary and has even had to deal with the family again. And the father has never apologized. And like he's completely estranged from his family. It's just like they have no remorse. They don't give a fuck at
Yeah,
all.
he's better off.
And then even Tamlin says later, like, my family was worse. Said that they had human slaves as
Mhm.
well. They were horrible to him. And his family was eventually murdered. And it seems like he only really misses his mom.
Yeah, he said she was the only one that like was really sweet and like just loved her father because she felt like she had to.
Yeah.
But and then she was like, "I'm so sorry about losing your mother because that was the only person you cared about."
Yeah.
So they were definitely bonding.
And that was why, because the whole family was killed, Tamlin
Mhm.
had to step up as the
Yep,
High Lord.
yep, yeah, no choice.
He takes Feyre to this glen, to the starlight in these waters. They're really bonding. He shows her garden and said, "This is how my father mated my mom." It was like her mating present. And then we get introduced to that concept of mating among fairies. And it's like marriage isn't even a thing. Like it pales in comparison to mating. Yes, you can get married as a fairy, but mating is like the goal. It's like beyond. And he expressed it as being like your true mate in every sense of the word. So clearly we know. And Lucian had even said he had hoped to mate that fairy that, his family slaughtered. But, now we have a seed planted because obviously
Yep,
our boy Tamlin has to mate.
yep.
He wrote poems for our girl Feyre from her study words. I
They're definitely
mean,
falling in love.
she's painting, she's learning to read and write. He's helping her. Let's talk about it, because last week when I asked you, why do you think it wouldn't be, when you thought the love interest was going to be Lucian, I said, why not Tamlin? Because
Because I thought Tamlin was like a
in my
dad.
head, it was Tamlin.
I don't. I now that I'm like reading it, I ship them. Of course, I'm like, oh my god, they're so
Yes.
cute. He's so good to her. Whereas I feel like Lucian is a little bit like f boy energy, but
Yes.
maybe that's why I thought they would kind of. But now that it's happening, I'm like, oh, once he went to that little ceremony thing, I was like, it's gonna be her.
That's what
He's
we
gonna
got to
come into
talk
her room.
about. This is what we got to talk about. So now we're like starting to ship them. We're starting to get these little feelings. Even at that moment at the Glen, he gave her a little baby nibble, like a little kiss, gave her a little something, a peck. Then we find out about the Great Rite, which is this like fire night festival. Basically, all we know at one point is Tamlin tells Feyre, go to your room, lock yourself in there, set a snare, and don't come out till the morning.
But does she?
You don't
But
know
does she
why.
listen? No.
That little ho-ho, she said no. She did not
nosy.
listen.
I don't like her. One thing that annoys me about her, she's a risk taker. She's just like, oh, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna get killed by a fairy, but like Tamlin will save. I feel like she's too like reckless.
Yes, but like I would want to know.
I'd be
Like,
scared to
what
know.
the
I'd be a
fuck
little
is going
chicken.
on that I can't see? I
No.
know I agree with you. I really do. But at the same time, like I would be a little bit nosy. I thought it was, so we learned that basically it's a ceremony. He's going to be essentially the hunter who has to find his maiden. All these female fairies come, and like he's possessed by magic and has to mate with one of them, like whoever he picks in the moment, like whoever, like over, like whatever sensation he feels like towards whichever fairy the strongest is the female that he picks and mates with that night. So he's like essentially like having sex with this person. And this is like their ritual, whatever. So she escapes. Guys try to take advantage of her. Another fairy, Rysand, comes, and she thinks he's the most beautiful fairy, like the most beautiful being she's ever laid eyes on. So I was like, oof, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have a mask.
Yes. And that at that point, I can't wait for the reveal, because she was like, I just want to know what Tamlin looks like without the mask. I can't wait for that reveal.
Is this some Beauty and the Beast thing? They can't
I
say
know. I'm dying because, like, come on, like, take the damn mask off. Like, I can't. And she's gonna probably think he's like the most gorgeous thing, and I can't wait for that. But so this is all happening, and Feyre hears about it, and she gets kind of jealous.
Oh yeah, I knew she would. Once he walked out of his room and he didn't have a shirt on, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then when we find out what the ceremony is, I'm like, oh god, it's like it's definitely going to be her. He's going to like smell her there and like follow her back to her room, and like she's the one.
Yeah. And it wasn't like you know what was crazy? Lucian clearly acknowledged that he knows that Tamlin can't help himself around her, because he saw her and panicked and was like, you should be in your room. Like when Tamlin smells you, like he's not going to be able to hold himself back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, he's
And he's
acknowledging
like, and
it.
you won't enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, she will.
Oh, oh, but Lucian, honey. But really, that was crazy because he's like full on admitting it. Like he
Oh, and
knows.
she cracked me up. She's like, I don't do sloppy seconds. And I was like, telling Garrett.
I can't. The way that this ended and left us like after this saucy encounter, like he goes through with the ritual, like literally has to sleep with another woman, then lingers outside her door, and he was like, I could smell you. Like, where were you? I was looking for you. I had to settle for somebody else. He kind of bites her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, like he apologizes, he gives her white
She was
roses.
on cloud nine. She didn't even
But
care.
we know like these are his actual feelings just coming
Mm-hmm.
to fruition, like under magic, like that's just more intense where he can't fight it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the next day he like gives her roses, makes up for everything. And my favorite thing was reading like at the end when she said that it was the first night she went to sleep and didn't lock her door. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
her walls are down.
Literally. And she painted him something. She painted him the Glen and the
Yes.
starlight.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because like she's like, look at this pretty like thing I made you. And he's like looking at all the like
Everything.
dark ones that are like about her past and her family. And like it's like reading someone's diary basically.
Yeah.
And she was
And he
like,
knew which
oh,
picture was like for when she was with Isaac.
yes, that was funny. And he wanted to take one that wasn't the one that she had intended for him. So yeah, that's kind of where we left off. So like we're really getting to a point where we're like, this is the part for me where I'm like, can't put this down. Like I need to know what happens next. I need to know when they get together. I need because you know me, I'm like the love story girly, and I need this.
Mm-hmm.
With
So
love
are we going to
stories.
do, I want to do guesstimates on what we think is going to happen.
Go ahead.
So
Prediction
obviously
time.
they're going to get together. I'm thinking like way in the far future, but obviously I think he's going to marry her. I think she's going to I think they're going to either like, she's going to be the cure, or like them being together is going to be the cure, or them having a kid is going to be the cure. Yeah, I think he's going to start like this whole war where like he, you know, if she is human, even though I still think she's half fairy, but if she is fully human, you know, people are gonna, I don't know who this she person is, but she may not condone it. We know this other guy, I'm so bad with names, you're so good at this. We know this other guy that, you know, doesn't like humans at all is not gonna be okay. I think it's gonna start a war for sure.
Yeah. The King of Hybern.
That one, yes. Alina's the good one with names. I'm like, this person never.
It's okay. It's a lot at once. I get it. So definitely think that she being whoever that is, like obviously is going to stir shit up. I do think there's something up with that mountain in the middle. And I think, like I said before, she's probably there or something. Then here's what I really think. There's something up with the dynamic. There's something that we're missing here about her story. And now that we've learned of the concept of being glamored, like the way that her family is, who's to say that her family wasn't glamored before when, like, did the mom really die? Is the mom, you know, I think that they were led to believe, oh, she was just sick and died. Like she either has always been a part of the fairy realm and like maybe they just wanted to get Feyre as a baby out into safety for a period of time during a war, plopped her into this fake ass family because they don't care about her. They don't educate her. They're not the same. She's like the ugly duckling to them. There's something not right with their dynamic. So like maybe Feyre was like literally not even part of the family, and her mom is from the fairy, one of the courts of the fairy world, and dropped her off. And then they went to get her ass and brought her back.
You went. I was just like a high level here.
I'm
You're like
thinking,
diving
like,
deep.
I just think they're glamour to think something. Even if the mom was like taken into the fairy world,
See, this is why I think she's half fairy.
They probably like just made them think like, oh, she, you know, maybe she was brought into that world later on, but they think, oh, she just died. Like there's something not right. Something happened when things went wrong with money and they needed to get Feyre back out of there. Something. I don't know. Something weird about the dynamics of the family, and I don't think mommy's dead.
Well, I don't like mommy if she isn't dead, because the fact that she left her daughter
maybe it's
to like
for her
take
best
care of the family, it better be that, because I would be like, what? You couldn't even have them. You know how like Tamlin's taking care of her family now? Like she couldn't have done that? I don't know. But I think she's half fairy because
There's
why else
got to
would they
be a
name her
reason.
Feyre? Mm-hmm.
They're probably just trying to protect her from danger.
If you say so. Mommy better be dead.
I find it funny that like this is probably a book a lot of people have read and they're listening and they're like, bitches, you guys have no idea what's coming.
You're so wrong. I know. I'm thinking Lucian and freaking Feyre are gonna ship, and it's not. I was way off.
I can't wait to see what happens next. So for next week, for next Wednesday's episode, read chapters 23 to 31. Hopefully we'll have some steaminess to talk about and some answers. Maybe some of our predictions came true. Amanda, do you want to plug our socials, honey?
If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Book Please Podcast, Twitter/X at Book Please Pod, and please make sure to follow us on Facebook. Thanks.